All right, let's begin. It's at the top of the hour. So let me just say thank you, everybody, for joining us. Welcome to our, what is this, the 7th installment, I believe, of our ACT training webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about ACT customizations. We got a lot of requests for just doing some tips on how to customize ACT, different ways to customize it. So that's what we're going to cover today. But before we begin, let me go over some housekeeping things. If you're new to this series, thank you for joining us. Welcome. If you want to check out any of our previous recordings, they are all available on our ACT website, where you can look up the webinar series. Also, if you have any questions throughout this webinar, feel free to use the Q&A panel inside Zoom. I've got Dan Horn here with me. He's going to help me answer all your questions today. Please try to stay on topic, though. We're not really going to take many questions outside of what we're talking about today. Also, this is being recorded, so if you miss any part of it, or if you want to share this with somebody else, don't worry. We're going to send a recording to the email address that you used when you registered for this event. And again, like I said, it will also be available on our website afterwards. Feel free to follow along with me as I go through some of these steps. And then at the very end, we're going to send you a survey just to ask you what you thought about it. And if you have any ideas for future webinars, this is proof. This webinar is an example of a question that somebody sent through the survey saying they wanted some customization. And so we're making it happen. So it really does work. So let's begin. Our agenda today, we're going to talk about customization. Lots of different areas to customize inside ACT. I'll mainly be going through the desktop version of ACT, but I'm also going to show some things briefly in ACT Premium Cloud. But everything I'm showing you today can be customized in both places. We're going to talk about customizing fields, the layouts that you see on your screen, some things you can do with activities, creating custom activities. And then we'll look at the welcome screen and how you can customize that, and even some things you can do in the ACT Insight interactive dashboards. And there's really a lot more than what we're going to show today, but this will give you a good taste of some of the customization that can be done inside ACT. About me, a little bit about me. My name is Brent Milner. I was born and raised in Arizona. I've been on the ACT product for over 17 years now. My main job is to create videos and do webinars like this and train new employees and customers. In my spare time, it says I wander through the woods, but not today, because we're getting a lot of snow here in Flagstaff and 70-mile-an-hour winds. If we have a power outage and I disappear suddenly, you know why. So let's start with talking about fields in ACT. Now, you can create new fields in ACT. You can customize or edit current fields in ACT. And I'm going to show you a few field types that you can use that you may not know that you have the ability to use. I'm also going to show you how you can force certain formatting in a field if you need to do so. And I'll show you an example of that. We're going to look at picture fields, which are kind of fun and they're very useful sometimes. And even an unlimited character memo field that maybe a lot of people don't know that there's an ability to do that. So let's jump into ACT. Again, I'm on the desktop version of ACT. And the first thing I want to do is create a field. Now, I'm going to create a field called account number. Now, this is a field that at my company, we require an account number, or some of our customers have account numbers, but they have to follow a specific format. And the format is 4 letters and 2 numbers. So 6 characters, 4 letters followed by 2 numbers. And I'm going to show you how you can force a formatting structure like that. So from my tools menu, I'm going to go to the define fields area. Now, when you're doing this in the cloud version, what will happen is you'll get a prompt that all of your other users are going to be locked out of the database. And you'll have to start a countdown with a minimum of 3 minutes just to warn other users that, hey, we're about to make a change to the database. So we have to log everybody out in order to preserve the integrity of the data. And so that's what you'll see if you're on the cloud version. After that 3 minutes is up, and there will be a little countdown in the lower corner. Once that countdown is up, the database will be locked, and then you can start editing or creating new fields. But here in the desktop version, we can jump right into it. And so what I'm going to do is, from this define fields window, I'm going to create a new field. I'll make sure this is for my contacts area. So this dropdown shows you the 5 different tables inside ACT, and I'm going to create a new field for contacts, and I'm going to call it account number. So I'm going to click create new field. And now I'm just going to give this field a name. We'll call it account number. Oops, if I can spell correctly. All right. Now, because I want this field to be all uppercase, normally I would choose character here, but I really want to have some consistency in my values and my fields. So I'm going to choose an uppercase field data type. That will force uppercase letters. Now, I don't want to force this. This allow blank can be a little bit misleading. So if you check the box, that means it can accept empty values. If you uncheck this box, that means that that field must be entered. It's a required field, and you won't be able to save any data unless you have some value in that field. I'm going to leave it checked because I don't want to force it. I'm going to allow it to be blank. We can create history too. So that means if I check this box, generate history, anytime somebody changes that specific field, it will create a history record for that contact. And that might be important to know. If somebody's changing fields, you can see a history of the changes that have happened in that field over time. Primary field just means if you're going to duplicate a record, it'll include this as one of the fields that gets duplicated. And I'm not using a drop-down list because this is going to be a straight up 6-character entry into the database. So I'm going to click next. And now here's the screen that I'm going to be able to force a field format. So for default value, this is optional. I'm just going to leave it blank. This is if you wanted to pre-populate a field with anything, but I don't want to. This is an account number. And so for account numbers at my company, like I said, it's got to be 4 letters followed by 2 numbers. So the way to do this is for letters, you use the @ symbol. So at, that means 4 letters. And then for numbers is the pound sign or hashtag or number sign or whatever we call it these days. I'm going to do it twice. So at, and then number. That forces a certain formatting. 4 letters followed by 2 numbers. And then, of course, it makes sense for me to change this field length to be 6 because all of my account numbers are 6 characters long. And so you might be able to use this for any kind of field that you need. There's other options to format, force formatting too. I can send you a link to that or add one later. But these are the 2 that I use most of all. Now, when I click next, the last thing I can do is set field triggers. This is really if you want other things to happen on your computer when you're doing things like changing a field or entering a field or leaving a field. You can have act launch Word, for example, or create an activity series or do some other things like that. So this is another way to customize interactions with fields in your database. I'm going to click finish here to create that field. Okay. What that does is it shows me my field. It's called account number. My field type is uppercase. It's not linked to any company field, which is fine. Down below, I can see that this is a custom field, and I can see the date that it was created. So great. Now I have one field. There's another field I want to create, though. I want to create a field that automatically computes a person's age based upon the data that they put in the birth date field. So let's do that. I'm going to create another new field. This time I'm going to just call it age. And since this is a field that we're going to use to calculate, it's not a character field. I'm going to scroll up and we're going to use the calculated field data type. When you do this, it automatically disables all of these other options because what is going to happen here is we're going to be creating a read-only field. So that means all of these other things don't matter. This is a read-only field, which ACT is going to take control of as soon as I set its parameters. So for field behavior, I have to decide what kind of field type is this. Am I calculating based off of a number or a formula, or am I calculating based off of a date? Now, since we're doing this on a birthday, this is going to be a date field calculation. Once I select that, I get some new fields populated down below. I have to select a field that I want to calculate from and then a formula. So I have all of my date fields listed here. I'm going to calculate, of course, off of the birth date field. I want to figure out how old a person is based on that field. And then the formula down below, I can just choose years since. So this birth date to today, calculate how many years it's been, and that will give me their age. Simple as that. Now I'll click finish, and this age field will be created for me. Now, one thing I want to point out here is you'll notice that there's a little lock icon next to that age field. That just means this is a calculated field. It's a read-only field. It's protected. The data can't be changed in that field. Okay, what else do I want to do? I want to create a picture field. So maybe I need to have a picture of my customers, or maybe a picture of their driver's license or something like that. ACT will let you create a picture field so that you can upload images for each contact. Let's do that next. I'm going to create a new field. Let's just call this one portrait. And for field data type, it's not a character field. I'm going to scroll down, and all the way down here, it's called picture. Okay, again, when I select picture, there's a few things that get grayed out. You can't generate history when this changes. It's not a primary field because you're not going to be copying this picture for one contact to another contact. But you can choose to force this field or require this field or not. I'm going to leave it unrequired. It's an optional field for me. I'll click next. And then the only thing I have here is field triggers. Well, I'm not going to choose any field triggers because I don't want ACT to do anything else when I'm entering a picture into this field. So I'm going to click finish. And this will create that field. If I scroll down, I should see my new portrait field is here. Okay. And then let's do, oh yeah, I was going to do a memo field. So sometimes you want a field that can hold a lot of data, a lot of text. Maybe you want to write a summary about each of your contacts or something like that. A lot of text. If you use a normal character field, you're kind of limited on the amount of text that can be held in that field. So I'm going to create a memo field that holds a whole bunch more data. I'm going to call it summary. And then for field data type, what I'm looking for is memo. Here it is. I'll choose memo. Again, it grays out some of these boxes because it's not, these options are no longer available. I'm going to click next. And again, I don't want to set any field triggers for this, so I'll click finish. And just like that, I've created a memo field where I can enter a summary about my contacts if I want to. Now, the last field I want to do another computed field or a calculated field. But what I want to do is figure out maybe a commission for my opportunities. So I have some salespeople and they make sales and they're going to get maybe a 5% commission. I want to compute that so that they can see what their commission is going to be. Now, this won't be for contacts. Now I'm going to switch to the opportunities area. Since this field directly relates to or depends on data from the opportunities table, I'm switching to opportunities. And so now I'll click create a new field, and I'll just simply call this commission. You can call it whatever you want, sales commission or whatever. I'm going to call it commission. And again, this is going to be a calculated field, just like our age field was, except this time we're going to calculate based on a number instead of a date. So I'll click next. And so here where we have the calculated field type, instead of choosing date, I'm going to actually enter a formula here to compute this commission. When I choose numeric, now I've got my formula fields here where I can build or create formulas. Now, this could be a little bit confusing if you're not used to this screen. There is a little help link. If you click that link, you'll be able to, it'll give you hints and tips on how to build this formula, but it's pretty simple. Let me show you how it's done. First, you got to choose what fields you want to calculate against, the function that you want to use to produce whatever mathematical result, and then if there's any parameters, you can add those too. Mine is a real simple formula. I'm going to calculate off of the, let's do the weighted total so that we can see a running commission based upon where my opportunities are in their stages. So I'm going to double click weighted total, and that just pops it up into this formula box. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to compute 5% of that weighted total. So I'm going to do product, double click product, which is multiplication. And then next to that, I'm just going to enter .05 for 5%. And that's it. That's my formula. Whatever the weighted total is, it will tell me what 5% of that weighted total is going to be. So I'm going to click finish. And now my new commission field is here. Again, there's a lock next to it because this is a read-only calculated field that cannot be edited. Great, so we've just created in this, 10, 15 minutes, we've created 5 useful fields that will be available to all of our users in our database from now going forward. So I'm going to click close. Now ACT is really nice. After you've added fields or edited fields, it asks you a question. It says, hey, you've added a new field to the database. Would you like to modify your layout now? And that's great. If you click yes, it's going to open up the layout designer. But let me show you how to open it manually, just in case you click no, or you've said don't show this message. I'm going to click no. And so to get to the layout designer, again, you go to your tools menu. And from here, you're going to go to design layouts. It's a submenu there. And now you can choose one of the 4 design layouts that you have. So I'm going to start with my contact area because I created 5 fields for my contacts. So let's start there. This will launch the layout designer. I always maximize it just so that I can see everything that I want to see on the screen here. Now you'll know you're in the designer because you have sort of like a dot matrix grid going on. This is not, none of the buttons can be clicked. You can't enter any data here. What you're looking at is the design of your layout. And specifically, I'm just looking at my web contact layout premium. That's the one I use most. So that's the one I'm editing here. Now I got to decide where I want to add these tabs. So I have an account number tab. I have a account number field, a portrait field, and a summary field. I also added an age field. So I got to figure out where I want to put all these things. Well, let's start with the age field. I think I want to add that to the personal info tab. It seems like it fits there best. I don't want to put their age here in my business card area. I want to tuck it underneath this personal info area. So I'm going to add it here right underneath this spouse field that we've got. Now, the way to do this is to go to the left. Here's your little toolbox. Here you can do drawing or you can add fields. If you click the drawing box, what happens is this field box seems to disappear. Well, it doesn't really disappear. It just minimizes all the way at the bottom. So if you see you have a drawing button, but not a field button, just look down at the bottom. That's where the field area went. When I click field, then it will maximize again and show me all of my field options here. So to add a field, you can do 2 things. You can either click this field button and then draw a rectangle on the screen, or you can just drag the field button over and drop it on your screen. Either way will accomplish the same thing. Once you do that, whether you draw a rectangle on the screen or you drag the field button over, it's going to tell you to select a field because ACT says, well, you want to add a field here. Which one do you want to add? And so I'm going to add the age field. Now, down below that, we have include a label. That's just if you want the word age to appear next to the field for your age field. Usually, you will include this label. So I'm going to leave that selected, and I'm just going to click the Add button now. Okay, now it's added my age label, and it's added my age field. But as you can see, it's kind of like not lined up. It doesn't look real great. The fonts are a little bit different. The colors are different. The alignment is off. Everything seems wrong, but we can fix this real quick. One thing you could do is you can click and drag it to where you want it to be, but you may find that it's not really exact and it might get really frustrating for you. So I have a couple tips for you, a couple tricks you can use. First of all, I'm going to align age to the left of the birthday and the spouse labels above it. And the way to do that is you select age, and then you want to select the field with which it should be aligned. So I'm going to choose spouse. Hold down the control button on your keyboard and choose spouse. That way it selects 2 of them at the same time. Now, if I go to the format menu at the top and hover over the align submenu, I can align these 2 to the left. And again, it will only align it to the last field that you select in that series. So if I would have selected age, spouse, and birthday, then it would have aligned all 3 of them with birthday on the left. So it looks okay, it's aligned left, but now I want to align it vertically with this row. So I'm going to choose age again, and then I'll select Alt Phone. I'll go to my format menu, hover over align, and this time I'll choose top. That aligns it up vertically. So now I have a label that's lined up vertically and horizontally with each of these other rows and columns. But my fonts are kind of not right either. If I click age, it'll tell me I'm using Microsoft Sans Serif 8 or Sans Serif 8, and spouse is using Microsoft Sans Serif 9. So all I have to do then is just go to age and change this to 9. Now it messes up some of my lettering, but I'm going to fix that too, because what I can do is make this label field the same height and width as any of these other ones. So again, I'm going to select age, hold down Control on my keyboard, and I'll select spouse. That way both of them are selected. Now from my format menu at the top, instead of a line, I'm going to choose make same size. So once this submenu opens up, I can choose width, height, or both. Well, I'm going to choose both. Okay, that makes my age label the same height and width as spouse. So everything is almost perfectly matching. The only thing we have to fix now is the color. If I click age, I can't really tell what my color is by looking at this. If I click spouse, I can't really tell either. But there's another trick you can do. If you go to the view menu, there is a properties window that you can display. And you can also enable this by just hitting F4 on your keyboard. Once you do that, this little properties window shows up on the right. And this is a cool window because it tells you the properties of anything that you select, whether it's a field, whether it's the background, it tells you what color it is, whether it's a header, it'll tell you everything, the color, what's in the text field, where it's aligned, where it exists, its location, and its size of that field. So all of your details appear in the properties window. So if you really want to fine tune your customization here, this properties window will be hugely helpful to you. So if I click spouse, that label, it'll tell me what the font color is. And I'm going to just stretch this out a little bit more so I can see it better. So my font color is hard-coded RGB color values. What I'm going to do is just highlight that and then Control-C to copy it. Now I'll click my age field. I'll go in here again, and instead of using control text as a color, I'm just going to paste in that color from the previous one. And so now my label is lined up. It's the same size. It's the same font. It's the same color. Everything looks great. Now I just need to do the same thing for this field that I've added. So I'm going to do this a little bit quicker. You can just watch me go fast here and line it left. And then I'm going to align it vertically. Or horizontally. I keep getting those confused. And then to align this actual text inside the field, all I have to do is use this align left button at the top. That'll move that age value over to the left. And the last thing I'm going to do is change the font color here. And I'll change the size of it also. I think the fields are usually 9.75. Yeah, so I'm going to change the age also to 9.75. And then just to be sure that everything is lined up, I'm going to change so that they're both the same size. One of the other things I could have changed is this window style. So you can see how spouse has a border style of fixed single, while age has a border style of fixed 3D. This is a drop down. You can change that too if you want. And then it should make everything look pretty much the same. Now, make sure you click save here. You don't want to lose all that work. And then this will save this to your web contact layout premium design. Let's look at that real quick. I'm going to go to exit. And then I'm going to look up a contact. Let's just look up my contact. You guys can see how old I am. I'm going to go to my record here. And then if I go to my personal info tab, it's loading. There it is. All I have to do is add a birthday. So let's say my birthday, I'm going to fake my birthday. I don't want you to really know how old I am. Let's say it's today. 2/22, 1980. I'm not really that young, but let's just put that in there. When I click save to save this record, ACT will then compute the age to tell me I'm 43. So this is great. As it goes to next year, it'll automatically update this. So I'll be 44 and so on. And so there you go. There's a calculated field, which will then be there for you to use. Okay, so what about these other fields that we created? I've got an account number field, a portrait field, a summary field that I want to add, but they really don't seem to fit on any of the tabs that I have. What I really want to do is create a new tab called account information. So let's do that. Back in tools, I'm going to go to my design layouts and I'm going to design a new tab for my contact layout. So here we are. I want to add a new account info tab and I want to put it somewhere down here, maybe in the middle. If I go to my edit menu and I choose tabs, it'll open a little edit tabs window. Shows me all the tabs that I have. I could hide some tabs if I don't want to see user fields, maybe I could just remove that tab. Now it doesn't delete it forever. It just moves it over. If I don't want my relationships tab, some of these tabs you have to keep. But if I want to add a new tab, I'm going to click the add tab button and I'm just going to call this account info. Okay, there it adds it to the bottom. I misspelled it, so let's edit that. Info. And then I'm going to move it up. Let's move it up to just before secondary contacts. There we go. Now, when I click close, we'll see that my new account info tab is right here. There's nothing on it, so we've got to add some fields. So I'm going to add my account number field, first of all. This time I'm going to click the field button and just draw a rectangle so you can see how that looks. All right, we draw the rectangle and then it says, what field do you want to add? I'm going to add my account number field. I will include the label and I'll click add. Okay, so far so good. Now I'm not going to go into all the alignment. You've already seen that. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. What I do want to do is add the other two fields that I've created. So I created a picture field called portrait. If I click the field button and try to add it here, let's say I want it to look like this, you'll notice that there is no portrait field in this dropdown. And that's because a picture field is a little bit different. It gets handled a little bit different. So what we need to do is not drag the field over. We need to go to the picture field box. Okay, so I'm going to click that and I'll just draw a square here, or a rectangle, I mean. And now it's going to say, which picture field do you want? I'm going to choose portrait. I don't really need a label for this. It's going to be obvious what we're doing here. So I'm going to uncheck that box and just click add. And now I have a portrait here that's available. Now it's important to know that you should have a specific field size in mind because when you add a picture to this field, ACT is not going to resize that picture to make it fit. So you should have a certain standard for your pictures when you're adding here. So maybe I know that my pictures are 150 pixels wide by 200 tall or in height. I'm going to hit F4 on my keyboard to look at the properties window. Right now, this field is showing 104 by 136. So I want my width to be 150. I'll just double click that, change it to 150. And then I want my height to be 200. I'll double click that. And then once I tab out of that field, it resizes that for me. So maybe I'll move this over here where it makes more sense. Okay, so now I've got my picture field ready to go. And last, I want to add a memo field, which I called summary. Again, this won't be in the field area. It'll be in the memo field area. So I'm going to click that. And then I'm just going to draw a big rectangle here. And then I'll choose summary because that's the new field I created. I'll include a label and I'll click add. So it just puts summary above it, which is fine. Now I could spend some time aligning these all up, but instead I'm just going to save it and I'm going to exit so that we can see this in action. Okay. So now I should see my new account info tab has been created. If I go there, we'll see the 3 fields that I've created. Now, I could have also changed the background color and messed with all that, but I just didn't do that. But let's start with account number. Now, remember, this should force 4 uppercase letters followed by 2 numbers. If I try to type numbers on my keyboard, trust me, I'm typing numbers, nothing's happening on the screen. Okay, but if I do letters, it will enter letters and it'll automatically capitalize them for me. If I do more than 4 letters, I'm typing, nothing's happening because ACT says, look, you can only do 4 letters and you must do 2 numbers after that. So if I try to type any more, nothing will happen. It's forced those formats for me. This is great for maintaining integrity for your data. It just makes everything look really nice in your database. And also helps prevent any mistyped, miskeyed entries. So summary, this lets me type a lot of text. The quick red fox jumps over the lazy brown dog. And we can copy this and paste this 100 times, and it'll save all that. So that's a good field to use if you have to type a lot of text. You can use that summary field or that memo field type. And then the last is this picture field, which I called portrait. I didn't put a label on here, but all you have to do is click anywhere in that picture field and then find your image and open it. There you go. And that puts your portrait in there. Now I pre-sized that image so that it would be 150 wide by 200 in height. And that's available now for all of your contacts. When you click save, that information gets saved there. And now you have a new tab with new custom fields. Now, the last thing I want to do, at least in this area, is go to opportunities, because we did create a new field for opportunities called commission. So let's look at one of our opportunities that has a value to it. This one. It's got a weighted value of $510. So we need to compute the commission for this opportunity in its current stage. Now I created the field already, so all I need to do is add it to the layout. And I think I'm just going to add it right here beneath days and stays. There's a little bit of room for me. So let's do that. I'm going to go to my tools area again. This time for design layouts, I'm going to choose opportunity instead of contact because we're adding this field to our opportunity area. I'm just going to click and drag my field button over here, drop it somewhere close. And here's my new commission field that I created. I will include a label and I'll click add. And if I wanted to kind of roughly line them up, I will here. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard if you want to more fine tune where these things should appear. I'm going to align this text to the left just because it looks better. And that's good for now. If I want to come back later and align these better, I will. But I'm going to click save and then exit out of this design layout. We should see that new field appear here, and it calculates automatically the commission, which is 5% of the weighted value. Now, the reason I chose weighted value is because once we close this opportunity, if it goes to closed lost, the weighted value becomes 0, and then the commission gets changed to 0. So I think it's better to use the weighted value when you're doing a commission. So there you go. That was a lot to talk about, but that was one of the main ways that you can customize in ACT is fields. And also we talked about layouts. I kind of combined those together. The next thing I want to talk about is customizing activities. So ACT comes with some activities out just inside the box. You have activities for calls, meetings, to-do items, appointments, and so on. But you can create your own custom activities and also determine what their default duration should be and resolutions when they get cleared. So let's have a look at that. This doesn't take too much time to do. It's pretty simple. From the desktop version of ACT, you'll go to your schedule menu. You'll choose manage and then choose activity types. So schedule, manage submenu, and then activity types. This will open up your manage activity types window. Let's see if I do have a cloud version up here. Yeah, there it is. If you're on cloud, all you have to do is go to your schedule menu and then choose activity types. and you'll get the same thing, little window that shows your current activities. So you can do this in both the desktop and the cloud version. Back in the desktop, we can see that I already have an activity called on-site inspection. So one of the things we do at my fake company is we inspect customers' sites, and we inspect after we install whatever we're installing. So we need to do something before it. We need to assess their location to make sure the installation will work. So I need a new activity type called on-site assessment. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to click the add button for this activity type. I'm going to call it on-site assessment. If you have icons that you want to use, you can browse for those. You can search for these online. There's a lot of places where you can get neat icons. But otherwise, it's just going to use this little default one there, calendar one. Then down below, you can change what the results will be when you clear an activity. So by default, you have two options, completed or not completed. But that's not good enough for me. I need to be a little bit more specific. So I'm going to edit one of these here. On-site assessment completed is not what I want. I want to call it approved. Okay, I'm going to copy this because I want to use that on-site assessment in more than one place. I also have on-site assessment not complete. That makes sense in case we just couldn't get to it that day, or if we started it and couldn't finish it. But I want to add a few more. On-site assessment, let's do one called failed, in case the assessment was no good. And I'll do another one called on-site assessment postponed. If it got delayed or something, I want to make sure I note that. Okay, so I have 4 different result types when we clear an activity. By default, I'm going to choose approved. All right, I'm going to click OK, and then I'll close this window. And then the last thing I want to do here is to change the default duration when we create a new on-site assessment activity. So from the desktop version, we're going to go into the tools area, and I'm going to go to my preferences. This is the same in the cloud. You go to tools preferences. In the cloud version, you just click activities, but in the desktop version, we're going to go to calendar and activities, that tab, and then we'll click the activities preferences button. This shows all of my activity types: appointment, training, vacation, call, meetings, to-dos, and then my new one, online on-site assessment. By default, the priority is set to low, but I think this is a high priority item. So I'm going to change it by default to a high priority. A ring alarm, when will I be reminded that we need to do this? Well, I need more than 5 minutes notice. So let's do 1 day so that it reminds me, hey, tomorrow you've got to do this assessment on site. And then how long does it usually take to do an assessment? Let's just say 4 hours. Usually it takes 4 hours. Scroll down. Oh, I only got 2 hours up here. All right, we'll do 2 hours. Okay, so by default, it's going to make a duration of 2 hours. Now, when we create the activities, we can change those defaults, but this is just a default to help people do things quicker. Okay, so now I'm going to click OK and OK again, and I'm going to look up a contact. Let's look up all contacts, and I'll just pick some random person. Let's go to Justin Dagger. I'm going to create an activity. So I'll go to schedule, and it's going to be an other activity type. And here's where now on-site assessment shows up. So if I create that activity, we'll see that by default, it's set for 2 hours. And here's where I could change it if I think it's going to take longer. I change it to 3 hours. Set the date and time. I'll do it for today at 10 o'clock. And then I can enter all the other things I need. Notice the priority is defaulted to high, and my ring alarm is set to 1 day. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, and it will create that activity. Now the alarm shows up because I've set it for less than an hour from now, so that's fine. Let's clear that alarm. If I go to my task list, I should see, here it is. I didn't put anything in the regarding field, but this is my on-site assessment. Let's clear that and see what happens. When I go to clear it, we'll see that the default result is on-site assessment approved. Here I could choose not complete, failed, or postponed. And so that easily we've customized an activity. We've created a new activity. We've given it a bunch of default settings, and also settings for how to clear it. All right, a couple more things to show you today. The next is the productivity dashboard inside the welcome screen. So you probably have noticed your welcome screen right now. It's got some charts on there that are usually meant to be helpful, things that you would look at the first thing every morning. What needs to get done today? How are we doing? Well, you can customize this dashboard. You can rearrange the layout of all the charts. You can add your own new custom charts to this welcome screen. So let's have a look at how we would do that. I'm going to my welcome screen. From the default view, we can see I have task list on the left. My open opportunities are on the right. Here's my current pipeline, which shows me all of my opportunities in each stage by value or by count. It shows me the number. And then it shows me my hot leads. These are customers who have interacted with my Act marketing automation campaigns, landing pages, and so on. It's based on the score that they get from those things. So this welcome screen is useful to show me the things that I think I need to pay attention to first. But we can customize it. Let's say I don't really want this hot leads chart here. On the top right, we have a little gear icon. And you can do a few things here. You can show your welcome links. So if you're new to ACT, you have these links at the top, which helps you learn how to import some how-to items and all that. If you don't want to see those links anymore, you can just turn off that toggle switch. You can also enable resizing, and we'll look at that in a little bit. But just to delete a simple chart, each of these charts has an options menu at the top right corner. And from here, that's where you can delete a chart. It says, hey, if you do this, you can still get it back, but you'll have to reset everything on your layout. And that's fine. I'm going to remove it for now, and I'll reset it later. So there, I've removed that chart because I want to use this space maybe for something else. Let's do that. Let's resize. And this allows me, when I enable this resizing toggle switch, it allows me to now move things around. Maybe I want my open opportunities to be down here. I'll just click it, move it down there. Maybe I want my task list to be over here, but maybe I want my pipeline to be really long like that for some reason. So it allows you to resize. The lower right corner lets you grab and move things around. And then if you just click anywhere in the chart, you can move it around as long as you have that enable resizing toggle switch enabled. Oops, I accidentally clicked on one of those links and it moved me into opportunities. So back on the welcome screen, I want to add a new chart that tells me the number of activity types that I have currently set. So let's make room for it. Let's change the way this looks. Let's enable that resizing again, and I'm going to make some room for this here. Let's shrink this down, and I'll put it down here. So in my options window, I'm going to create a chart. When I do that, this little custom chart window appears. So let's give it a name. I'll just call it activity types. Then I have to choose the entity type that I'm interested in. So the entity type I'm interested in is activity. The field that I want activity type. I want it to count. And then I can choose, do I want it to be a bar chart or a pie chart or a column? Which one do I want? Let's just do column for now. And I'll click save. And it creates that new chart for me. And it tells me, all right, I have 42 calls, 18 to-dos, 14 meetings, and 1 online assessment, the one I just created. So there you go. Now I can resize it and move it around however I want. And again, there are, you can use filters for each of these charts. So I'm showing this year, maybe I want to see last year's, I want to see last year's activities. That will reset, and it should show me last year's. If I choose all types, it'll reset all this stuff for me. How do I get back though? Maybe I've completely messed up this layout. Well, all you have to do is from your options window, just click reset views and then reset views again. And it'll take you back to the default view when you first started. So there you go. That's how you can customize your welcome screen. And then the last thing I want to show you today is Act Insight. We're going to create a new view. We're going to create some new charts in Act Insight just to see what that's all about. Let me go into my window here again, and we'll go into Act Insight. So when we begin Act Insight, the first thing you're going to usually see is what we call the Key Insights view. And you can tell what view you're looking at by opening this options panel to the right. We're looking at the Key Insights view. This is just meant to show you kind of a really high view of your business. How are you doing? So this business health chart, this is showing my current year's health. But what if I want to look at last year? Well, I can change this by going to the filters and switch it to last year. It shows me how we did last year as far as the opportunities that we had, potential, and the opportunities that we closed and won. I can change the chart type from group to 3D. When you do this, something funny happens. It makes everything really giant. And that's just because we're in a zoomed in look. You can see that the left is now down from $0 to $60. This is easy to fix. You just click this little zoom out button and it recalibrates it based on your tallest bar. Some of the other things we can do is I can look at my competitive advantage field. This tells me why we've lost any opportunities. I'm looking at this year. I could switch that to last year and it'll show me all the reasons why we lost any opportunities from last year. Let's switch to our sales metrics view. This really gives me a more fine-tuned view inside the sales team and what's going on there. So I have my sales by product right here. There's nothing showing. Let's switch this filter to this year. And that shows me the data that I need to see. These are all my products that we've sold and closed this year. Maybe I don't want to see all these products. Maybe I just want to see 5 products. Right now it's showing all. Maybe I just want to see, a few of these. Okay. And it'll change that view to show you only the products that you want to see. Again, if you click any of these bars, it'll take you to a list view for that specific product. And you can always go back by clicking the chart button at the top. Maybe I don't care about this won versus lost sales chart. Maybe I don't really think that's very useful. I can just open its options and delete the chart. And then again here, this is like the welcome page. We can resize things. If I enable resizing from the options on the right, I can now line these two up so that it looks a little bit better. After you're done resizing, make sure you go up here and turn off that toggle switch so that you don't accidentally move something around. I'm going to create a new field, or a new view and a new field, new chart. So I want to add a view that deals with history. So I'm going to call it history. This will immediately add that history view to my other views that were available already, but it's blank. So let's add a new chart. I'm going to create a chart. I'm going to call it database changes. The type here, since we're in history, I'm going to make it a history chart. I just want to see the history types. What types of history have happened over time? And I want to count them. And let's make it a pie chart. We haven't done a pie chart yet. All right, I'll save this chart. There we go. It shows me all of my database changes, what types they were. So I had 338 field changes and a whole bunch of other different types too. I'll create one more chart and call it closed opportunities. It's kind of a historical thing. And I'm going to do it on status. I only want to see a status of opportunities. And I'm going to do a column for this one. Shows me I have, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I have this many open, but if I change my filters for actual close date, it will show me my closed opportunities, whether they're won or lost. So have fun, play with that a little bit. experiment, see what kind of charts you can create in your Act Insight area. These can be really useful depending on what fields you have. Even custom fields can be used to create these charts. If you're in desktop, you'll need to, if you create a field, you'll have to exit out of Act and reopen it so that the Act Insight area picks up those new fields. But you can create charts based on any of the fields you have in your database. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left. We're going to continue doing the Q&A here. If you have any more questions, I see we've had a lot of questions being answered. That's great. We're going to continue answering those questions for the next 10 minutes or so. And again, thank you for joining us today. You're going to receive an email that has a link to the recording and also a survey. So fill out the survey. Let me know how we're doing. Let me know also if there are any other areas that you'd like to learn about as a subscriber training webinar in the future. And with that, I will say goodbye to you today. We'll see you next month. Thank you again for joining us. So long.